Welcome to Cordkillers Reckoning. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, when we want, however we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, where's the good stuff?
I'll tell you what, the good stuff is in my heart. You know what the good stuff is?
It's your blood.
The good stuff is the TV we watched along the way. How about that?
The real good stuff are the episodes we watched in the full experience. Let's get to the supply run then. Ta-da!
Supply run.
Couple of weeks ago, we got word that multiple U.S. federal agencies, governmental agencies, have launched something called the Time is Money, Friends initiative. Actually, it's just Time is Money, but it does make me think of Warcraft. It is meant to make it easier for you to unsubscribe from things. This is a fancy name for a collection of multiple different programs from different agencies. For example, the Federal Communications Commission is looking at requiring that it be as easy to cancel a subscription as it is to subscribe to it in the communications realm, because that's what the FCC governs. That probably means phone companies, but it could also mean cable television. The Federal Trade Commission has been working on a click-to-cancel rule. It was put together in March and would also require companies to let customers end subscriptions as easily as they started them. This would apply to most kinds of subscriptions and therefore would include streaming services. There's a lot of other stuff in here regarding healthcare and getting easy answers and stuff that doesn't really apply to cord cutting. But Brian, what do you think of this idea as it applies to streaming, where you are required as a service to make it as easy to unsubscribe as it is to subscribe?
Longtime listeners will know that Brian in general is not a fan of heavy-handed regulations or top-down management of stuff. So default answer is no, the markets should decide, and you should wait it out. You shouldn't use the heavy hand of FCC rules or legislation. However, I really like the idea of subscribing.
On the other hand,
I was a little bit short-circuited. I was like, but then I was like, okay, all right, think this through. What is the argument against this? And all of a sudden, those old anarcho-libertarian tendencies came back, and all of a sudden,
1995, Brian rises once again.
All of a sudden, it's I was thinking about unintended consequences. For example, the stifling of innovation due to, like, for example, there may be novel bundling packages that you couldn't make happen or wouldn't make happen because a one-click unsubscribe would unsubscribe you from 5 services instead
from
of
everything
one at a time. And also this is the part where it's like what? And the answer is, my friends, if I knew, I'd be out there making money inventing these things. You know?
Well, you don't know what will never happen, because it was prevented from happening. So it's hard to prove a negative. There are countries that already have these kinds of rules. I'm sure some of you live in those countries listening to us. And you may say, and we're fine. We have all the services and things. But you also still don't know what might have happened had you not had that rule, I suppose. I guess the US is the test case. If we have something that exists here that doesn't exist there, although a lot of times stuff happens in the U.S. and then it gets imitated elsewhere. So it's still hard to tell.
This rule, this proposed rule, or whichever one, if they make it a law, let's say it's the law. It does something that I absolutely abhor in legislation of any type, which is use mushy middle words like easy. Who's to say what easy is?
Well, that's my word. Just to be fair, like that's how I wrote it up.
That's why Tom Merritt shouldn't run for Congress.
Tom Merritt wants to make it easy to cancel subscription. I don't know what the actual text of the rule would say. But it's still a good point, right? Is like, what does that mean? A lot of times the ones I've seen in other countries are if the process you make to subscribe needs to be equivalent to the process to unsubscribe. So in other words, and they usually give examples, like if you can go to a website, put in your name and click a button to, authenticate and unsubscribe and subscribe, you should be able to do this unsubscribe in the same way. You shouldn't have to call someone if you can subscribe online. That sort of situation. I think that part's really reasonable. I like what Andrew Heaton says, which is you can legislate. What does he say? You can legislate outcomes, not intentions. Like you can legislate an outcome to say like this will be 10% more because we're going to tax it 10%, but you can't legislate an intention. You can't force someone to want to buy a car or want to have a streaming service. I think this passes that test. Where you can conceivably, we don't know if they are, but you can conceivably write rules that say, look, we're not trying to legislate your intentions. We're trying to say, if your customer subscribes by phone, they have to be able to unsubscribe by phone. If they subscribe online, they have to be able to unsubscribe online. Honestly, this is an old problem. That's usually what happens with regulation is they fix a problem when it's about not a problem anymore.
Well, and that's the other thing is like government intervention almost always is a lagging indicator because everybody is so incumbency minded that they don't want to actually take risks and do things before, but instead they wait until the market, until so many people are so angry about it that the companies are already fixing it. And then they're all like, and another thing, I'm going to pass a law just before you do it. And then that way I look like I'm getting things done.
Because one of the things we've talked about so often on this show is the benefit of cutting the cord is that it's really easy to subscribe and unsubscribe to stuff versus cable where they always make you go through the chicken challenge. Right. And so I guess you could look at this. The other side of what I'm saying is they're getting ahead of it before the streaming services go down that path that cable went down and start making it more complicated. But as it stands now, I think all the existing streaming services pass this test in the US. It is as easy to unsubscribe from Disney Plus and Peacock and all of those as it is to subscribe to them.
Yeah, and I guess also there's nothing to stop a company from, like, the moment somebody unsubscribes, sending them an email saying, you're technically unsubscribed now. Would you like to come back right now at half price?
Yeah.
And then recapture them.
I've gotten emails like that from things I've unsubscribed from. So
I had a thought. Whenever rules like these get implemented, they always feel very, very good in the moment. For example, when Europe declares all cell phones are going to be, I think it was on GSM or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all rubbing it in America's face that they're so advanced. We're so good. And it's like, yeah, you sure are. And then because they were saddled with, government forced, consistency, we had the marketplace and we leapt forward. I think what were some of those? Was it LTE that we rolled out?
LTE got and 5G particularly got rolled out here faster. Although then another great example is like someplace like Kenya, where they didn't even have landlines. And so they were able to just go straight to mobile internet and have like M-Pesa, the leading way of doing mobile payments in the world for like 10 years was in Kenya because they're like, we had to do it that way. We didn't have another option.
So you want an example of this is California likes to think of themselves, well, whatever, California be California.
All of us in California. Go ahead.
No. I'm saying, but when you drive on any highway, they have a telephone, a wired telephone installed every 1 mile in case you break down. You won't have to walk very far. And
we do.
Have you not noticed?
I've seen that in Illinois, honestly, but I don't remember seeing that in California.
Well, I know down in the San Diego area.
Okay, yeah. But I believe you. I'm just like, I guess I never really noticed.
It's just it looks astonishingly stupid. In fact, they may have taken the signs down now.
And it's just the phones.
it looks astonishingly stupid to think of the infrastructure cost.
Yeah.
Put that in. Likewise, even the original telecommunication stuff from the late 1800s, early 1900s. There was in the master switch. Is it Tim Wu? talked about how like farmers would innovate with clever things, wiring up their landlines, and they would do things like connect it to the barbed wire fences on their farms, which ran along to their neighbors. And so they, all of that seemed to work for them. But
yeah,
but then all of that became, I don't know, illegal, against the rules or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have answering machines until the 80s.
Well, so sometimes you pay for stability, Brian. Honestly, I'm with you on most of this. I don't have as big a problem with these rules. And again, I'm withholding judgment until I read the actual text of the rules, which I have not done. But I can conceive of a way that makes this a pretty reasonable rule, which is like, hey, if you get people in the tent, you got to give them an equally easy way to get them out of the tent. And as long as it stops there, and it's like, and you can't show them messages, and you can't, it can get overcomplicated. But if it's very simple, which is how I'm imagining it, I don't know that I have that big of a problem with just, setting a rule of the road. That's like setting a rule in the marketplace to me versus ruling how the market should work.
You know what? I think what I bristle at is the positive framing of it. You need to make it easy. Hey, screw you. I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
And instead, if they made it a right for people, it's like, it is illegal to have a system that is overly difficult to unsubscribe to.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. You're protecting.
The consumer has a right to an easy and a less complex way of unsubscribing.
Yeah, like the same way. It's like again, government mandates you must have a seatbelt option. Actually, seatbelts aren't the best example. But my point being,
1970s, Brian just came.
And I
screw helmet laws.
But I think I would feel better with it. Like, it's illegal to or against the rules to make it onerously difficult to unsubscribe.
Yeah. No, I think I'm with you there. There is one law I would absolutely 1000%, which isn't even mathematically possible, support, which is make it illegal for anyone not to subscribe to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Okay, you know what? Forget all that libertarian crap. I'm full on communist now. This is a dictatorship. I propose that I'm going to vote for whoever makes a law saying that it's mandatory that everybody get an ad-free version of the show, including
you have a right to an ad-free experience at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Yeah, you get the after talk, you get all the good stuff, and I guess we'll save it for later. But you get we actually did an episode last week that ended up being, Amos, was it as long as the full episode?
I think you guys probably should have just put it out as an episode.
Oh, did you watched it?
It was about 43 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And even then, like, we could have gone the full hour, but we were like, this is supposed to be a mini killer.
We have to keep it mini size.
But there's lots of good stuff behind the page in the Patreon area, including our full attention on command.
Yes, go check it out. I actually, with our audience, Brian, we should be like, no, you should not go to patreon.com/Cordkillers. Don't you dare go to patreon.com/Cordkillers and sign up for an ad-free experience. You'll be breaking the law if you do that. And
you'll be breaking our hearts.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the search party. Warner Brothers Television has picked up the options on 3 of the Ted Lasso actors to do more Ted Lasso. These are Hannah Waddingham, who plays the owner of the team, Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy Kent, and Jeremy Swift, who plays Higgins. They are UK equity actors. So that's why they're first, is Warner Brothers went to UK Equity first and said, can we get the options picked up for these 3 actors, and worked it out with the union. It's believed that Jason Sudeikis is already involved in his capacity as an executive producer. So he's on board, but Warner Brothers has declined to comment at all on this. This is all coming from Deadline and Variety. And they are also saying that negotiations are underway with the U.S. union, SAG-AFTRA, to get the rest of the cast members, all the U.S. actors, on board for this as well. It's all being described as a season 4, although I suppose it could be a movie, but the options are for more television episodes. I'm a little nervous about this, Brian. I'm not going to lie. I love that Ted Lasso had a beginning, middle, and end. And as much as I love those characters and would love to spend more time with them, I'm unsure that we need more story from them.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind at all a one-off season where he's back to coaching American football, but he's having trouble and he needs to call in the Diamond Dogs to come to. Now they're the fish out of water in America.
That feels so after MASH to me.
You know what? I'll take methadone, Ted Lasso.
I almost have a visceral reaction of like, please don't set this in America. Do not do that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
What about a neutral third place where all of them are fish out of water, like the Bahamas or something, or
that's interesting. Yeah,
like something more culturally.
They all have to coach. They like Hannah Waddingham's character. Why can't Rebecca? She buys a rugby team in New Zealand or something, and they all have to learn a new sport together.
Yeah, but I don't know. It'd be
okay. We can do Tahiti, so we get the the more exotic locale, but it could still be rugby.
Yeah, or maybe even what's another
American Samoa.
I don't know. I guess you can't layer stupid on stupid, so because like part of me wants them to do like the ESPN, the Ocho kind of sports,
yeah,
like they don't understand how the extreme Excel spreadsheet competition works.
Pickleball, pickleball's all the rage.
It's too popular, right?
yeah, I guess so. Anyway, the movements are happening for a possible more Ted Lasso, and we'll keep an eye out when we know more. There is also a trailer for Squid Game season 2. It shows some new players, not much action, but you get to see actual characters, and Gi-hun seeking revenge, entering the game with a more serious face, but still wearing his number 456, apparently. So maybe he's the last one to enter. He hacks his way in. I don't know. We'll find out on December 26th on Netflix.
Yeah. What a Christmas present. Everybody dies.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I guess I'm remembering the end of Squid Game. There was like some unresolved mysteries to. Yeah, so I guess if he's just going to go in.
Yeah, so spoiler alert for Squid Game. If you've never watched Squid Game and you don't want to be spoiled, press pause.
It's really on you.
For 60 seconds. But we don't know what happened to the policeman, right? He may have died when he jumped off the cliff. We don't know who's running the game anymore because the originator of it seems to have passed away. At least that's the implication. And we don't know how Gi-hun would get back into it if it's continued. So, yeah.
I wonder if he goes in under disguise. Yeah. Okay. All right. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Anyway, that's coming December 26th, Boxing Day. Disney has announced it will not make a second season of Star Wars: The Acolyte, despite a cliffhanger ending.
Whoops.
There was decent viewership by all accounts, but the negative feelings about it are attributed to why Disney is saying, well, we just don't want to deal with everyone talking about how much they hate it, even if a lot of people watch it.
Disney say that for reals?
No, I said they said that because I'm imagining what they said, but Variety pretty much says it's because of the backlash.
That's too bad. That's too bad because that's a dogmatic approach to any kind of storytelling. It's like, dude, we're still telling Hercules stories. And you ain't mad because it's like, that's just Superman is just a Hercules story. It's like, no, that's not how it goes. It goes like this. That audience capture. That's what I'm seeing. And it's something that I fear for all of the projects that I work on online, is when something runs away and then the fans love it enough that they start deciding to tell you what to do. And some people lean into it. They're like, oh, do you like it when I do this? Do you like it when I do that? It's like, you show some spine, stick with the thing.
Variety called it less than robust viewership. So I feel like if it didn't have the backlash, it probably would have got renewed and rejuvenated and promoted, right? Like, okay, the viewership wasn't where we want it to be for a Star Wars franchise, but let's see what we can do with it. Instead, it looks like they said, it's not worth the effort. It's going to be hard to rejuvenate it with that much hate. So let's just make it a comic or something.
Disney officially said, quote, "Who loves Andor?"
How about more Andor instead of Acolyte? A trailer for Francis Ford Coppola's new film, Megalopolis, showed criticisms of Coppola's iconic works. So like The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, included derisive quotes from famous critics, The New Yorker's Pauline Kael, Village Voice's Andrew Sarris, Roger Ebert, Vincent Canby, John Simon, Stanley Kaufman, Rex Reed. You probably recognize at least one of those names. They were all talking about how bad Coppola's films are. And the message was, people are going to say crazy stuff about Megalopolis, but they said bad things about Apocalypse Now and The Godfather. Those are considered some of the best movies ever, right? Don't listen to what they say about Megalopolis. Coppola's a genius. Go watch it, is my interpretation of what the trailer was.
Is that akin to is that code for we see what our test audiences are saying? We are steeled for a rotten rating.
It's quite possibly. We know people are going to hate this, and we definitely know critics are going to hate this. So let's get out in front of it. Brilliant strategy, because Coppola is hailed as a genius. Godfather is often touted as the best movie of all time, certainly in the top 10. So you could say like, hey, from the guy who made The Godfather, and all these critics hated that one too. Look how crazy they look now. Except none of these critics said any of the things that they used in the trailer.
Yes. I'm convinced this is a play because I just finished Nate Silver's new book about people who go all in on things and go all in when they don't need to because they've already won all the money. And they talk, among those things, about Rotten Tomatoes aggregating system of reviews. And internally, in theory, it shouldn't matter at all whether or not a movie is right for you or not. But people. Almost everybody is like, look, man, I just don't want to get burned by a movie. And so I'm going to do the safe choice and make sure it's fresh. Which there's a lot. I wouldn't have seen Fight Club because when Fight Club came out, it had a rotten rating. Now, over time, the reviews have been kinder to it as people finally got what it was saying. But at the time it was rotten, and pretty much in like, you're dead. You're just dead. There's no box office smash if you premiere with a rotten score. So this could be an attempt to get out in front of that.
It was probably. You're right. It is no longer. Lionsgate recalled the trailer and issued the statement. We offer our sincere apologies to the critics involved and to Francis Ford Coppola and American Zoetrope for this inexcusable error in our vetting process. We screwed up. We are sorry. So apparently this wasn't even Coppola's deal. This was Lionsgate people going rogue.
Yeah. I wonder how, imagine you're Coppola and you're like, they didn't say that about my
I don't remember
movie.
them saying that about The Godfather. Diminished by its artsiness? Who
like,
did he really?
Out of a movie, he takes a sip of wine.
Yeah, a sip of his own wine.
Yeah,
which is quite good actually. Hacks will be back to 10 episodes when season 4 arrives. The writers gave an interview and talked about how enthusiastic they are about telling the story of Deborah getting her own talk show, and said we've got enough to fill 10 episodes, so we're going to do it. Back to 10.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And a trailer is out for the animated movie, Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, which tells the fate of the House of Helm Hammerhand, the legendary king of Rohan. You may know him as the Helm in Helm's Deep. So Helm's Deep was called something else before this battle. We're going to get the story of what happened with Helm Hammerhand and why it's called Helm's Deep. It's directed by Kenji Kamiyama. And the story is set 183 years before the Lord of the Rings film trilogy that Peter Jackson made. And Peter Jackson is an advisor on this as well.
I have had my fill of all of Middle Earth in live action, but I'll be danged if seeing it in animated form and well animated too didn't really draw me in. I was suddenly like, if you didn't tell me this was a Lord of the Rings thing, I'd be all like, yes, this looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Although in this particular trailer, if you watch the trailer, there was a moment I burst out laughing because like it sucked me in so much to this conflict where it erupts into a fist fight and it gets brutal, and then finally somebody punches so hard it snaps the other dude's neck, and the guy with real gravitas says he's dead, you monster, and it smash cuts to this holiday.
You and the family. Well,
It really was.
That's pretty great. So yeah, there you go. Check out the trailer for War of the Rohirrim. Let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Indeed, it's buried treasure all the time. Buried treasure here, buried treasure there. My buried treasure this week, Brian, is Futurama on Hulu. I finally caught up. I think there's 4 episodes out now of the new season.
Oh.
And what's beautiful about what they have done with Futurama is that if you told me that these were episodes I had just missed in the original run, I don't know that I wouldn't believe you. The voices don't sound old. The plots are right on in there with the tone of the old. Maybe that's bad. Maybe that's a detraction for some people. But to me, it just feels comfortable. Like, ooh, cool, more Futurama that I haven't seen. The only giveaway is that they are talking about modern themes like AI and generated models, and blockchain is mentioned at one point. But other than that, the tone and the execution are solidly consistent with what I have expected from Futurama in the past.
This is the 4th time that it's been brought back?
This is the 2nd season, I think, of the 4th time that it's been brought back. Yeah.
Dude, that's great. That if they still got it, they still got it. Boy, I got Futurama out, though.
Yeah, I never did. I've always enjoyed it. So like I said, this could be a positive or a negative depending on where you sit. But I always wanted more, and this is more. And I never feel like I'm doing my duty, which I have felt like with Animaniacs. I was like, I should probably watch more since I like Animaniacs, but I didn't really want to. And so I didn't. This feels like, oh no, this is great. This is not necessarily something I'm longing for, like, ooh, when's the new one out? The minute it drops, I watch it, but something I'm delighted to find, like, oh, right, new Futurama. I can watch that. I got 20 minutes. So it's great. What about you? What have you been watching?
Well, I rewatched 2 movies, which means I get to just drop 2 short observations. I rewatched Greyhound, the Tom Hanks movie that at the time I called Battlestar Galactica. Like, I didn't realize that all of Ronald D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica is exactly note for note the way they would run a battleship at the time. Radar and that Cylons FTLing in is U-boats coming up and down out of the water and all that stuff. So it was fun to revisit it, but there was one moment that was so good. I was in the middle of editing some copy for some stuff, and there's that moment where they have to cry for help, and they need a message short enough that the Germans won't notice. And he's like, do we send a message? He's like, well, what's the message? And he says, help needed urgently. And he says, help needed, that means urgently. And he's like, needed isn't needed. And then he has this realization. He goes, help. And it's like, yeah, that short might get past him. And then like it was a really cool little like 10-second love letter to the importance of editing your copy. And then the other thing was I had spread it out over 2 nights because it's a long movie, but I watched the director's cut of Close Encounters, and my goodness, in a world before CGI anything, just the expense. Like now that I have a sense of production, like they built an entire battleship in the middle of a desert for a 10-15 second shot.
Yeah,
that's it. Then that moment when they come up and they're in India, I'm trying to count. I'm like, that's easily 500 to 700 extras being paid at a day rate or whatever, all coordinated, all costumed, all taught choreography to point up at the same time and all that stuff. And for what? A 30-second scene? It is
that. Yeah.
And plus also, he's a madman when it comes to something interesting. Just chaos in the background has to be happening at all times. Like just they paid all these people to just run laps behind them so that they could yell conversation at each other while dirt blowing machines hit them. It is when you realize that everything is real, exactly what you see. It is obscene, the level of production on that movie.
Did you find yourself making the Devil's Tower out of your mashed potatoes later that day?
I'm sorry, are you a cop? Right, there you go.
I've never visited the Devil's Tower. I've always wanted to since I was a kid and saw this movie. Have you? No?
Yeah, I've been to Wyoming.
That's great. I'm glad it holds up. I've seen it since it was first out, like I want to say in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was pretty good. But yeah,
the only part that doesn't hold up and that I found myself skipping were any of the kid gets kidnapped by the alien stuff, the scary, everything's rattling and stuff. All of the Richard Dreyfuss stuff is fantastic, where he goes mad and loses his family. And all of the they do such a great job of withholding information. Oh, and all of the cross chatter scenes when the air traffic control, like one guy is having a conversation, doing the radio operator, but then they intentionally have 2 people having a more candid conversation over it. It just creates this tense kind of bubble of authenticity. It's really great.
Well, folks, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, don't forget to email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Brian, you mentioned U-boats. I just listened to an amazing episode of a podcast about U-boats. It's a little show called The World's Greatest Con.
Justin said, come hell or high water, he was going to deliver this episode before the baby was delivered, and he made it by about 3 hours.
that I didn't know that part of the story. That is amazing. Yes, Justin Robert Young, congratulations on your brand new baby, you and Ashley. And you, Justin Robert Young, you and Brian, congratulations on your new episode.
This one was really fun, and it's very generous of you to give me the plug. It's about had you ever heard of Q ships before?
No, I hadn't. I knew U-boats, I knew the Lusitania story and all that, but once you got to the Q ships, I had no idea. Maybe I'd heard something about them and thought it was a one-off, but not that it was a whole program. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. So basically, the narrative. Go listen to it. Q ships on World's Greatest Con. Basically, what do you do when you have an unstoppable U-boat? You can't technologically take them on because you don't have time, you don't have the expertise. But by God, the Brits can tell a story, and so they quite literally cast actors and create an amazing.
That's it. That's the best thing. How do you beat a German U-boat? Acting.
Right? It's bonkers.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Go check it out in your podcatcher of choice, World's Greatest Con. Let's start scanning the horizon.
Send a scanning to abort.
Scanning the horizon.
Chick-fil-A makes a sandwich. You might think it's delicious. I do. It's also reportedly creating a new family-friendly streaming service that primarily focuses on chicken. No, I'm sorry. Primarily focuses on unlicensed content. So that means they're not acquiring old episodes of something. They're making originals. Budgets on the unscripted side are believed to be in the range of $400,000 per half hour. That's cheap. By the way, if you don't realize, that's a reality show. Sources told TechDirt the idea is to launch later this year, and there's also talk of scripted projects and animation if it goes well, which those would be much more expensive than $400,000 per half hour. In a world where there are lots of streaming services, there are lots of free ad-supported streaming services, and you're an advertiser, maybe you just start a streaming service and advertise your product on it.
Well, and yes, and here's the thing: I want so bad to mock this. I want to make jokes about how, like, finally I'm justified because I keep ordering nuggets with the side of a streaming service. But in a world where Amazon Prime is one of the top streaming services, and Amazon Prime is how about we're a logistics company that also makes the movies? I can't even. No matter how nothing is too ridiculous now.
That's a really good way of positioning it. Is Amazon is a retailer and web technology provider and has a streaming service. Apple is a hardware maker and has a streaming service. Sony makes digital image sensors and has streaming services.
Yeah,
so,
even the Disney company, you could make a case that I don't know how much park revenues stand up against the global box office receipts, but let's say you could make a case that it's a theme park company that has
right.
service.
Netflix is the outlier here in being just a streaming service.
But now Netflix is making theme parks, the pop-up theme parks.
They are, and the video game service,
and
which
they're
is
doing logistics now.
I keep waiting for them to be like a CDN, like a content distribution network, because they're so good at it themselves.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't want to share with anybody else. Maybe they'll buy Paramount, since everyone seems to suddenly want to buy Paramount. In advance of Paramount Global merging with SkyDance Media, the company laid off 15%, or began the process of laying off 15% of its workforce. It will close its Paramount Television studio and shift those products to CBS studios. It has not yet merged with SkyDance. On the positive side, Pluto TV and Paramount Plus were contributing to the streaming division's first reported profit in 3 years. So that's the area that they want to grow, and it's actually profitable now on the streaming side. However, Paramount Global's board has extended the quote-unquote go shop window of the SkyDance Media merger. Now, both sides have agreed that Paramount Global will merge with SkyDance Media, but it's fairly normal in these terms to do your shareholder duty to say, you know what, we'll open up for other bidders for 15 more days just to make sure that the shareholders aren't losing out on some great offer. And generally speaking, no one takes advantage of those. They come and go. Nobody talks about them. Well, Edgar Bronfman Jr., who is more well known for other businesses than television, has decided to try to outbid SkyDance Media. Has said, I'm going to partner with Amazon and Apple to boost your streaming, which I don't know what that means, but that's what the word on the street is. And so he has made a compelling enough offer and even raised it once that they're like, that go shop window is going to be more than 15 days while we just work out for sure whether Bronfman Jr.'s offer isn't better than SkyDance's. Yeah.
I don't know that I have many, Tom explained it to Brian, questions. It seems like if you're, so they haven't actually activated they're not sold. Nothing's gone through.
There's always a closing period, just like in a house, right? where you're like, you've agreed to buy the house, but there's contingencies and inspections and financing could fall through. And so there's always that period of time between saying, yeah, I'll buy the house and actually getting the keys. We're in that period, the equivalent of that period, which is much more complicated, obviously, in corporate mergers.
So it might be a pain in the butt to extract themselves, but the momentum is on the side of them.
Yeah, and usually in these kind of mergers, that go shop window is a formality. But Edgar Bronfman, he's probably more well known for being in the music industry, but he has done film production quite a bit. He is, I think, the chairman of the board at Fubo, if I'm right. But yeah, he's decided, you know what? I think I could do you better, Paramount shareholders. And I really not. I have not seen a good theory as to what really is behind this, but apparently, if you believe what's on the table, it's Bronfman just thinks he can do a better deal.
Well,
and bring more technology to it. Charter Communications is now offering the ad-supported version of Paramount Plus to all Spectrum TV Select and Mi Plan Latino packages nationwide. No additional fee. This, I find, very compelling. I'll tell you why, Brian.
Why?
When you sign up for cable and they add a new channel while you're a subscriber for cable, do you expect them to raise your rate because they added the channel?
Absolutely not.
No. Why then would you pay extra for Paramount Plus? The future of cable television could be all streaming services. It's an all-you-can-eat bundle. You pay whatever amount a month, and Charter provides you Paramount Plus and Peacock and Netflix, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, God, we've come full circle.
I'm like, everybody's like, oh, that Disney bundle, it's just cable again. And I'm like, no, it's not cable again. This is cable again.
And it's like, it'd be great is if they had onerous contracts. So really get out of them.
I don't think
a landline. Throw in a landline.
I don't think this replaces streaming services bundles and going, a la carte yourself. I don't think so. But if there was going to be a future for cable television, this was what it would look like to me.
So now our new show is like Stream Dammers.
Stream Killers. Fubo TV has convinced a judge to issue an injunction preventing Disney, Fox, and Warner from launching Venu Sports until a trial is heard. Fubo TV has accused the three companies of acting as a cartel by combining their sports rights while denying Fubo access to those. So this does not mean that they have been found guilty of being a cartel. It means the judge thinks there's enough of a chance that they could be found guilty that he's going to stop Venu from launching until the trial is done.
Boy, it's really, I did not realize how specifically stigmatized the word cartel had become, because now there's only one thing I think of, and it's not just the traditional economic meaning of cartel.
Yeah, this is not a drug cartel. It's a different kind of cartel. But it also means you're not getting that ESPN, Fox Sports, TNT combo until this trial is done.
Oh, wow.
Jimmy Kimmel told the Politickin podcast, I don't know if there will be any late night television shows on network TV in 10 years. There's a lot to watch, and people can watch anything anytime.
Oh, my God.
They've got all these streaming services. Used to be Carson was the only thing on at 11:30 p.m.
It must have been nice to have a monopoly.
Maybe more significantly, the fact that people are easily able to watch your monologue online the next day really cancels out the need to watch it when it's on the air. I don't think he said it the way I'm saying it, to be honest. I think he was more like, hey, this is just the way it's going. Like, yeah, you're just going to watch my monologue the next day. But yeah, it does sound like end of an era.
It's like used to be. So all the kids, I would drive my ice cream truck. They'd hear the jingle jangle. They'd come running up and they'd give me the quarters and the nickels. It was such a good gig. And now, Now they hear that if they throw eggs, look at all the eggs on the side of my ice cream.
So many eggs.
The kids,
yeah.
they changed. The world changed. I didn't.
And maybe I should have actually. No, I think what Kimmel's saying is like, oh yeah, there's no reason to be live at 10:30 in the future, which that would be more reasonable. Comcast says about 30.6 million people watch the Olympics each day. That's up 82% over the Tokyo Olympics.
It's almost like when you make it really easy and really good, turns out people will watch it.
2.3% boost in overall TV viewing entirely because of the Olympics. People just watched more TV compared to June. 3.5% year over year increase in July because of the Olympics. I guess people still are interested.
Well, it's I can't be bothered to open the Peacock app, but from everything I saw, sitting at the local sports bar, looks really. I mean, I found myself watching sports that I never knew existed, like sniper rifles. and honestly, if you miss that, if you're somebody listening, like, man, I really enjoyed it. That was so much fun. Paralympics about to start. You got a whole new 2 weeks of sports. I saw that the Paralympics, they originally had a rule that you were disqualified if you showed up with a tattoo of the rings of the regular Olympics. They just rescinded that rule.
That seems like a good rule to rescind. Yeah,
because guess what? Paralympians are fans of the Olympics.
Yeah, because eventually, I feel like now they're only separated because of logistics, because it's like, wow, that's a lot of sports to try to have all at once. But they are closer and closer to just being the Olympics, right?
I mean, they should. I would love that. I mean, it's just another category.
Yeah. And then the Actors Union SAG-AFTRA has reached an agreement with a startup called Narrative, no E, so Narrative, for the use of its members' audio and voice replicas in digital advertising. Narrative will create a marketplace that'll let the actor list themselves for hire and negotiate rights and fees for the use of their voice by generative models. So it won't happen without their permission. They get paid what they want to get paid, or at least they get to negotiate a fee. And compensation will also generate health and pension money through the union as well.
I really hope that more of these stories come out, because my two eldest children are aspiring to be artists, respectively a writer and a musician. And boy, have they drunk the Kool-Aid on the AI is going to take our gerbs. And I just want to all of these stories, and I'd be like, can you calm down now, please? It's like
these days.
My daughter was brought to tears trying to explain how AI was evil, and she was upset I was using it. And I was like, I don't think you have a problem with AI. I think you have a problem with the sourcing of the materials. I think you want ethically sourced AI.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's happening. Like there are AIs that are like I've been approached about, rounding up all the raw footage from everything I've shot for the last 15 years so that they could train models on it. And then I would get compensated for it. And that would be part of the ethically sourced video LLMs that it's trained on. Boy, I'll tell you what, man, when you type in, wouldn't that be cool if we type a bar scene, it's like, it's very clearly one of the bars that we shot at over the years.
It's me apologizing that the bottle didn't fall over when it was supposed to.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
No, I think that's great. In fact, on Good Day Internet today, Shannon Morse and I had a great conversation about just that. Like what do we want? Because one of Shannon's videos showed up in a training data set. And so we were talking like, how does that make her feel? What would she want to happen for that to be okay? Why is it not okay? Is it legal? Is it not? So yeah, we're figuring all that stuff out right now. It's brand new technology.
Well, and that's the other thing is when you're 16 and you only are just getting started, like the last year, let's say you began this project a year ago, that's a lifetime to you. And it's like, it's so hard to have a big picture time scale. Like we're old enough, sweet, blessed 50 years old, that we could shrug and say, we're at that getting the wiggles out phase. It'll come, it'll go, it'll be fine.
Also, when I was 16, I felt like there was no consequence for any opinion I held, right? It felt like, well, what does it matter what I think? So I'm just going to think the most extreme thing sometimes. And I think that's part of it too.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what you're doing is you're ruining my dessert, lady, by telling me I'm evil for using
and I don't have that many left. All right. All right, let's move on to the chatter.
You've got mail.
In fact, we have voicemail. Love this. Thank you, Tom, for sending us your voicemail. Play it away. Voicemail. So you could just do it. Voicemail. Ta-da!
I smell it, did it.
So apparently I need to unmute my.
Yeah, I wondered if that was it. All right, take it away. Voicemail.
Hopefully it's still at the beginning.
Now in the Disney app or just most things? I know I need to keep the Max one there because I know the Max stuff isn't mixed in. So let me know what I should do, guys. Thanks.
Take it away. Voicemail.
Hello, Cordkillers. This is Thomas coming at you from New Hampshire. Just a quick question. So I upgraded recently to the Disney Hulu Max bundle. Do I need to keep the Hulu app on my Apple TV and on my phone? Is everything from Hulu now in the Disney app or just most things? I know I need to keep the Max one there because I know the Max stuff isn't mixed in. So let me know what I should do, guys. Thanks.
I forget what brutal freaking show. Oh, it was Fargo. I was watching Fargo in the Disney Plus app. So yeah.
Here's my long and overly complicated answer to your very simple question. I would keep the Hulu app around just in case for a while. And then, after a few months, if you're like, I've never needed to open the Hulu app, get rid of it. The opposite thing would be to just delete it because most of the stuff is in there. And then if you come across something, you're like, wait a minute, this one isn't in here. Then you could always go reinstall the Hulu app. But it's my understanding that 99% of the Hulu stuff is now in Disney Plus, but not all of it. There are a few things that aren't.
Yeah, so maybe keep it around, but just see how long you can swim in the Disney Plus waters before you encounter anything that ruins the experience. Because, I don't know, I find it to be a superior UI because it's more whatever. And also, it's like it's a bummer to even shut down one app and load another.
Yeah, exactly. C wrote in and said, "Dear Tom and Brian, this email is specifically for Tom. Sorry, Brian."
Here, I'll just take a drink.
You could just say anyway. Tom, you introduced me to Korean dramas a few years ago. I think the first recommendation I followed was for W, which was brilliant. Since then, I have seen every one of your suggestions and more. The "and more" is the point of the email. And thank you for introducing me to Korean dramas. I can't recall you mentioning the drama Taxi Driver in the past. It is sort of James Bondy / Mission Impossible with a group righting wrongs. Very enjoyable. Also, I'm not sure if you watch Japanese dramas, but it's a recommendation for Todome no Kiss, or Kiss That Kills. A man gets kissed and sent back in time to relive the last week. A great watch. Thanks for the show. I have watched Taxi Driver, 100% agree, although I think season 2 isn't quite as good as season 1 with Taxi Driver. I have never heard of Todome no Kiss, and I love a good time travel story like that. So thank you for recommending that. I'm going to put that on my list for sure.
Right on. Okay, this next one I only put in the rundown because the more I read, the more I was like, Tom, explain.
Okay, so yeah, let me summarize. The Geeky Brit has noticed that there are ads in the public feed for Cordkillers now, and remembers that we have said if you are a $1 per episode subscriber, that we don't make any money off of those subscriptions, and notes that they are capped at $2 a month. So if we have more than 2 episodes a month, which we usually do, that they are actually going to be only spending $2 a month because Patreon lets you do that. So what they're asking is it worth keeping the Patreon subscription if it's costing us money and they're getting ads anyway? And couldn't we just do just as well if they canceled Patreon and just listen to the ads? Here's what I would say to the Geeky Brit. You should do what's best for you. And one option that might be best for you is to use the Patreon RSS feed instead of the public RSS feed. And I think a lot of people don't realize this because we used to not have ads in the public feed, so it didn't really matter.
Well, it was kind of like an empty threat. It's like, get it ad free, and then we never had ads anymore.
Yeah. So if you haven't done it, you can go to patreon.com. I would recommend going on the web because it's easier to find sometimes, but you can get an RSS feed for Cordkillers from your Patreon subscription. Put that in Pocket Casts or Apple Podcast or Spotify or whatever, and then get the ad-free feed through Patreon. That's worth $2 a month to us. Don't worry about whether it's actually like not making us any money or not. We love all of our patron subscribers at whatever level they can support us. So even if we're only making a couple of pennies, it's fine. Don't unsubscribe to Patreon. Do yourself a favor and get the ad-free version.
Yeah. And make sure to use the benefits of the Patreon, because right now,
exactly.
If you're listening to the public feed, you're not getting the benefits of the Patreon. You got it. It's real easy. You just go in and log into your Patreon on your phone, and then go just open a browser, go to Patreon, log in, and then you'll find your custom RSS feed.
You do not have to listen to it in the Patreon app. You can. That's fine, but you don't have to. I think that's what the Geeky Brit and some other people were confused. They were thinking, I got to use the Patreon app. No, you can get an RSS feed that will work in any podcast app.
If anybody hasn't done this before, the experience is you just log into the website, you go to the thing you're supporting, and you scroll around, you'll see copy and paste this RSS feed. You just copy it, you open up your podcatcher, and you say, there'll be an option on all of them that says custom RSS feed. And you click that, and then you paste it in there, and you hit go, and then boom! Now you have it'll be the same thing. It'll be Cordkillers, only it'll have the bonus stuff, the after talk, no ads, all of that stuff.
Amos said that he is going to make a post on Patreon to explain all of this too. If you're like, hold on, that was a lot of words, don't worry. A post is coming, right, Amos?
It's about 3 steps. I'll include pictures, and it's very easy. It's especially easy on the Patreon website, which from now on we are going to recommend you always use for everything because reasons. But I've posted on there before in the forums, things like that. But I will make a post specific to getting the Patreon feed into your podcatcher, and it will be out to everyone. So even if you're not a patron, I'll make it public. So it's going to be there, and then. It's really simple. It's a one-time thing. Once you have it done, hopefully, it'll always be there, and you won't have any ads in your feed.
Yeah,
fantastic. Thank you, Amos.
Finally, we get from Nikki M. Right?
Yeah, he says, "Hi, Killers. I want to talk about 2 shows: Bad Monkey, a fun mystery noir kind of episode. It's got 2 episodes out so far on Apple TV. Apple has another great show on its hands. Also, Jackpot, a movie on Amazon Prime. The movie was completely hilarious. The stunt work was awesome. The jokes were great. And the outtakes are just funny as all hell. I love this movie so much that I immediately had to share. Thanks for the great show, Nikki." Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate that. And thank you, every one of you, for being here and spending time with us. We love it. You love it. We all win. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live at twitch.tv/Night Attack Mondays, most of the time at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have to include this at the end of the show. I forgot to mention this weekend on Saturday, the 31st of August, if you are in Seattle, 7 p.m. at Tavern Law. We're having a little mini Diamond Club meetup. Seattle, Washington, this weekend, Saturday, the 31st of August, 7 p.m. at Tavern Law in Seattle, Washington.
Awesome.
7 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah. Kind of important. Yeah. 7 p.m. Pacific. I know for certain that Dark Redeemer will be there. BioCal will be there. Del Noche will be there. I'll be there. I'll have my daughters with me because their last birthday sucked and Friday's their birthday. So I'm going to take them out on Saturday and have an actual good time on their birthday. This will be their 22nd birthday. So, the Their 21st got ruined. I'm not going to let that happen on the 22nd. But before I cut the recording, I want to make sure I included that for anybody that is still listening.
Fantastic. See you there. Or you will see yourself there.
Yeah, I'll see
I
them.
won't be there.
Yeah, no.
But Amos will.
All right, we're on break, right?
Yeah.